Hi.
Hi, Michelle.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
She's like, where's that voice coming from?
You say hi to Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. Not on.
No, Don's not on yet.
Michelle doesn't talk to me.
Sorry, I got disconnected.
Oh, there's Michelle. Now say hi to her.
Hi.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
There's two of me now. I don't know how that happened.
It's probably still lagging from the other.
Probably. There it goes.
Who's that?
It's Jeremiah.
It's red.
There we go.
Hey, Jeremy, I just disconnected like 2 seconds after I got on here, so I'm going to go ahead and make you the co-host right now, just in case.
Okay.
I think my internet is,
Does it, so if I have 3 screens, does it let me choose what screen I'm sharing?
Yep.
Okay. Then I'll put the packet on my right.
It does. When you hit screen share, you can pick what you're sharing. Like you don't even have to share your whole screen. You can share a specific program only.
Right. You can do just that window or.
Yeah.
This way I can see everybody and do that.
That's why I like doing it in my office, because I can put the Zoom screen on one screen and then the share screen on another.
Hang on.
There we go.
He's working.
He's working? Don, she thinks you're working. Wait.
Okay, let's see if it works.
Working.
Does it work?
Yep.
How does it do that?
So Bob, you switched off today, right? You've got the eldest of 2.
She's about to get her turn in the bath.
Ah,
Yeah,
brother's there first tonight, huh?
he was first. She had to make sure she saw you though.
Oh, sure, yeah.
No, she did.
Really?
She found out I had a meeting tonight and she goes, I see Don.
You remembered my name?
Yeah.
Hi, Margot.
Mm,
Hi.
Can we done the map?
Yeah, the map.
Mhm. Look.
Yeah.
Who's somebody else?
Mhm.
Are you ready to go get in the van?
Okay, I think I gave it.
I have a funny feeling that there's two of me because Greg didn't log out earlier.
You're correct. I will remember that. Good evening, Commissioner Love.
Good evening, Commissioner Watson, or Commissioner Gauss.
Whoever.
I'm half asleep. I'll wake up. It's been a long week.
And it's only Tuesday.
It's been a full moon.
Oh, okay.
That's a bad day for healthcare.
Ah, well, folks, the
Commissioner
clock,
Gauss,
the,
well, I was going to wonder if that was his beachfront property in Arizona that he was at.
Yeah, exactly.
the clock in the corner of my computer says it's 7 o'clock. I believe we are all assembled. Before we get started, I would ask folks to generally keep your microphones muted unless you're actively talking as part of the meeting. And with that said, we will call to order the December 1st regular meeting of the Adrian City Planning Commission. Jeremy, could we take roll, please?
Yep. Jacobitz,
Here.
Love,
Then
Love's here. Weatherby,
Here.
Johnson,
Present.
Watson,
Present.
Taylor,
Present.
Cotton,
Here.
and Gauss.
Present.
All commissioners are present.
Excellent. First item on our agenda is consideration of our November 10th meeting. Commissioners, I presume you've had an opportunity to review those minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the November 10th minutes?
I have a correction, Taylor. Page 2,
Yes, sir.
225 North Main Street. It indicates that I moved to table the site plan for a different case on US 223.
Oh, let me catch up with you here, Don. Page 2,
Yeah,
and what case are we on?
54.
54.
Okay.
It indicates that I moved to table the site plan for a different case number.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And that should be 225 North Main Street.
Correct.
Case 20054.
Yep.
Okay. Any other additions or corrections to the November minutes? Hearing none, we would entertain a motion for their approval.
Move to approve.
support.
That was a motion from Commissioner Cotton with support from Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is case number 20047, which is a proposed text amendment related to accessory buildings, particularly backyard sheds. As you may recall, we've originally discussed this, I believe, at our August meeting. The reason it came to us is that the ZBA had experienced like 3 or 4 requests for exemptions to the 100 square foot shed limit. We directed staff, we asked of staff to prepare an ordinance that would alleviate some of that issue. Jeremy has done so. You have a copy of that. The significant difference is that the maximum shed size would now be determined by a very simple formula based on the width of the lot, and with a maximum size of 400 square feet. Commissioners, Jeremy, do you want anything to add to that?
So Greg and I were talking, we should change this to a discussion piece because it's gonna have to do with the chickens anyway, so amending it twice kind of seems redundant after I did that. So I guess we could discuss it and then I'll add in with the chickens into this one, and then we can have the public hearing next meeting, if that's okay with everyone.
Why don't we go ahead with this discussion on the sheds, and we won't take any, then we will table it when we're done with tonight's discussion. And we can incorporate it into the chicken discussion when we get to the chicken discussion.
So I can give you kind of a rundown what I did, at least for this portion.
Okay,
So I changed it to a minimum of 400. Anything over that will go to the ZBA. Realistically, anything over that's kind of a garage at this point anyway.
that's a maximum of 400.
Maximum, yeah.
Oh, sorry, maximum of 400. Over that's really a garage at this point anyway, so I don't see many people going that route. So what I did is I made a calculation where every residential has a 25 foot rear yard setback. So if we take your lot line times your rear yard setback, which is always going to be 25, and then 15% of that would be what you're allowed. So this would allow us to have different size sheds for different size yards that should match. And I put a couple of examples, and these are obviously not locations they'd have to go. They could go in the rear yard setback, but that's kind of, you're looking at the line of where the rear yard is. Their lot width is 100 feet wide, and they could have a 400 square foot shed, and that's what it would look like. It's actually bigger than their garage. So that's interesting. So that's an R1 lot, which is our large lots. This is a R4 lot with a 187 square foot shed. Currently, right now, I think they have about 150 square foot shed is the other square. Or no, that's a 187 over top of their other one. So it's slightly bigger than what they have. So
Jeremy,
yeah,
I have a question if I could.
Yeah.
Your illustration for the R1 100-foot wide lot is it's not 750 square feet, it's 375 square feet, which would be you've got double the amount there.
for
15%. 15% of 2,500 is 375.
I may have just put the wrong
So,
number on that. It was
Yeah,
more
and-
just an illustration.
well, okay, and that,
Hold on.
fine, fine.
Are you talking about on the calculation of the memo?
I'm sorry, what was that, Jeremy?
The calculation of the memo or on the illustration?
Oh, both. It's in your
On the
illustration.
memo.
Yeah, the memo, it should say, rather than 750 square feet, it should be 375.
Right, your illustration shows a 400 square foot shed where it should be 375.
Well, that's just bad math then at that point.
That's okay. I'm just,
But so there's that we can look at. So obviously it's going to be a weird calculation that's going to have to be done every single time, but it keeps it from going to the ZBA. So that was the intention anyway.
One of the other issues that we may want to discuss on the same topic is maximum height. I think the draft that Jeremy provided permits a maximum height of what, 14 feet, Jeremy?
Yes.
Which may be a little tall for a shed. I think that was based on maximum height of a one-story building that we would permit otherwise. If it was a one-story house, it could be a maximum of 14 feet tall.
And I think we should carry that over into the chicken discussion as well, because I think we do discuss height in that one.
Okay,
Yeah,
just-
no enclosure shall exceed 8 feet in height for the chickens, so that could be something that we carry over from that one. Sheds
Okay.
and chicken coops could be, say,
Okay.
10 foot or something.
commissioners, other questions or comments while we're on the shed discussion? We will revisit this.
I have a couple of comments.
Mr. Taylor.
Item C
Mm-hmm.
says that no accessory building shall be located closer than 3 feet to any side or rear lot line and 5 feet to any side in R3, R4, 5 feet to any side or rear lot line in R1 and R2. But the illustrations indicate that not to the property line, but they show it a few feet off the rear, the 25-foot rear yard setback. So we're inconsistent there, I think.
No, that just, they can't go any closer to the line. That's where I put those sheds is just a random location where it could go. It
I
could go
understand that,
anywhere.
but what does the 25 feet rear yard setback mean?
That's just the report. So we have the side, fronts, and rear setbacks. They're just required for when they build a house. And so all of them have a 25-foot rear setback, same with the front. So because the shed goes in the rear yard, they use the rear yard setback. So we're just taking the percentage of that rear yard times the lot width.
But you're saying that you can put this within the setback area, right?
You could, yeah, just
But I
not
thought-
within the lot lines.
Well, I know that on the front setback, you can't put anything there, right?
No,
But in the rear, you can.
yes. My intention of showing where that line is kind of just showing that's 25 feet up, and
Jeremy, what is the minimum distance from a side or a rear property line for an accessory building?
so it depends on your
District.
but the R3, R4 is 3 feet, the R1, R2 is 5 feet. So,
So
Okay,
the illustrated red square could go in the rear yard setback as long as it was 5 feet from the property line.
it could move about 22 feet north
Yeah.
of where it's at. and
Here's the big problem right here, Jeremy, is that your
Yeah.
drawing is terrible and it's deceiving. Like I hope it's not part of the.
No.
I don't mean to
This was
dog you
just,
out, but like
No,
I'm
I-
very confused just by the drawing. I can read it and understand it, but when I see this drawing, I'm very confused. So if this is part of what the ordinance is going to have, then
no,
This is not a part, the drawings are not a part of the ordinance.
no. It's more of just to show what the size would be like in comparison to the yard, not in an actual location. That's just like if they had a shed and they wanted to put it there, that's the size it would be in comparison to the actual lot.
Let me muddy the water a little bit more. If you go to the next page, item M says that no detached accessory building, including those of 400 square feet or less, shall be permitted within any required setback area. So
There's a-
we're inconsistent here, folks.
There's
Yep.
another one that says it can go within the rear yard.
Yeah, so either it's not permitted in the setback, or we specify the distance from the lot line that it has to be. One or the other.
I think it should be allowed in the setback.
Yes,
Is-
Set
So-
3 feet in the R1 or R3, R4, and 5 feet in the R1, R2.
yep.
Yeah.
So we would, at least based on current discussion, we would scratch.
No, we
Um,
wouldn't scratch it. B says accessory buildings shall not be erected in any required yard except a rear yard. So it's the way this
Oh,
ordinance was
okay.
initially written, you have to
Okay.
multiply, go back and forth.
Okay,
But yeah.
so,
rear
so
yard-
item M should include the end with the phrase, except for the rear yard setback.
M should be deleted under this scenario.
I
Yeah,
agree
you
with
can
Chris.
just take it out.
Yeah. Okay, other items on this topic.
Well, I did have one more question, but I don't want to stir the water. But
Oh,
item
okay.
O, number 2, a detached accessory structure shall not exceed 600 square feet or the ground floor area of the principal building, whichever is greater. So if I had a 2,000
Yeah.
square
it-
foot house, I could have a 2,000 square foot accessory structure.
So is it 400 feet or 600 feet? Yeah, exactly.
So, but you can
Well, I
only
mean-
have 30% lot coverage. So it's really excessive what we allow. but you can only have 30%. So you couldn't have two, you couldn't have 4,000, most likely. I mean,
But Jeremy, I mean, in one part, we say it can't be any bigger than 400 square feet. And then in O2, we say it can't be any bigger than 600 square feet.
No, 400 is when you have to still go to the ZBA, but
No, this is.
What?
Too confusing.
If you read this, it indicate, I mean, if I have 1,000 square foot house, it indicates that I could have a detached accessory structure the same size as my house
Yes.
or the ground floor area of the principal building.
Mhm.
well, so here's,
that is what it currently says. That didn't, O2 didn't change. But it probably should change.
only the bold is what's being added or
Yeah.
subtracted.
Folks, let for a minute, is the section here this is section 4.34 entitled accessory building. Does this apply? This applies to every accessory building, including detached garages. Is that correct?
Mhm.
So I think we are confusing the issue here.
Does it apply? Wait, Mike, I don't think it applies to garages.
Detached garage is an accessory structure,
Detached garages, I think it does.
not an attached garage, a detached garage. It would.
Detached, yeah.
That's why I put 400 for the ZBA, because realistically, anything over that is a detached garage, most likely anyway. So they can have a detached garage, but they need to go through Tony at that point with all their construction drawings instead of a Amish shed being dropped, which is what's going on. We're getting huge Amish sheds.
Let me ask the question again. Section 4.34, is this doesn't refer just to sheds. I mean, because we're talking about recreational vehicles and travel trailers, utility trailers, pools. Does this regulation cover detached garages as well as sheds?
Right now, we're only talking about sheds.
I know, but does this ordinance, section 4.34, apply to detached garages?
It would, yes.
Okay. See, and therein lies the difficulty we're having right here.
So it depends on the definition. The definition of a detached garage is something for storing motor vehicles. The definition of a tool shed is for non-motor vehicles, which they still count lawnmowers in that, but anything not for the storage of motor vehicles, they count as a shed.
In our, Jeremy, in our definitions, do we cover both of those in the definitions?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's why there's a maximum height of 14, is because mostly this is applying to garages.
Uh-huh.
Sheds were kind of just shoehorned in here that you can have a 100 square foot shed or go to the ZBA. That was the thing.
I'm afraid the way we've got this, so this is going to create confusion. If it does for us, it will for other people.
It's very confusing. There's too many. It could be very simple. Here's the number. Here's how you figure it. Here's what you get. But there's too much. I mean, why do we have private pools at the bottom? Like that to me does. Yeah.
Are you suggesting we had a separate section for accessory buildings?
Well, I'm thinking maybe we need to say, we need to define accessory buildings, and I know we do in the definition section, but we need to have an ordinance that covers detached garages and a section that specifically refers to then non-detached garage accessory buildings.
I mean, to me, it's really simple. A garage is anything over 400 square feet. Let's say, whatever a one-car garage would be.
Uh-huh.
Anything with a footprint over that has to be, full drawing or, drawings, building permit, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Anything under that is an accessory building, a shed,
Yep.
There
I think
is a number in the building code, and I want to say it's
100, I think.
I don't want to say what it is, but it's less than 400 square feet. that is exempt from a building permit, but above that would still require a building permit.
And maybe we need to have this match that.
I don't know. I mean, I would say we don't need to worry about that for purposes of this discussion. The building official will take care of his own business. What we need to decide is what an appropriate size accessory structure, in proportion to a lot would be. And this does begin to do that. There's just too much clutter with the remaining language from the old version of the ordinance. If our goal is to simplify this and take things out of the realm of the ZBA, make it clear what you're allowed to do and make what you're allowed to do, what the market demands, if you will, what people are buying today in general as accessory buildings, AKA sheds, then we need to cull out a lot of this other superfluous language, as I think Commissioner Watson said.
Yeah, I agree. As I recall, in not related to this year's discussion, but in prior year's discussion, we've kind of come to the conclusion that we wanted to limit people to the potential of one detached garage and one accessory building, meaning a gardening shed or a storage shed. We didn't want multiple accessory, we didn't want multiple sheds on one lot, regardless of their size. I think I kind of like Jeremy's approach with the formula for setting the maximum size based on the width of the lot. I think that makes perfectly good sense. I think we do need to break all of this language up so that it's clear as to what it is we're referring. And may we send this back to staff for some work on that.
Right.
Honestly, like when I read this, letters G, H, I, and J, as far as I'm concerned, can be stricken from this because they really don't apply to an accessory building.
Well, but we still want them in there, but maybe not in this
they need to
section.
be somewhere else. Like they need to be a different, because what does it matter if parking of a travel trailer, what does that have to do with an accessory building?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I agree with that statement in G, but on the other hand, what does that have to do with this? It needs to be plain. Here's what it is. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what people can do. It's simple for whoever comes to the upstairs to say, okay, how big's my lot?
Yep.
Jeremiah or Greg can be like, okay, your lot's this big and this big. This is how big a shed you get, and it's got to be 3 feet from the line. Go.
Yep.
So you want it bigger than that? You got to talk to Tony and get a building permit and and a slab and whatever it is that you're going to do, and go.
Mm-hmm. Commissioners, any issues with us sending this back for some more work? Everyone okay with that?
Yes.
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 Jeremiah,
Yes.
you got a gist of what the issues are here? I can work with you on it if that's helpful.
Sorry,
Okay.
as the commission, are you okay with having a shed, even though it may be somewhat larger by this formula, and a detached garage? Are you ever okay, and are you ever okay with having a detached garage if you have an attached garage?
Well, and we have, there's occurrences of that in the city already. And most of the ones I'm familiar with are people running a business out of their detached garage. I would say generally not.
But that's not our place. Like if this is what, if I'm going to use my own lot. I have a big enough lot that if I wanted to put one on there for my classic car that I own, which I don't own, why should I be penalized because Mike Jacobitz doesn't think it's a good idea?
Well,
But if I have a small little lot on the east side that doesn't have enough space in the back and I have a 1-car garage and that's all I can get, well, that's what I
That's
can.
what it is then. Yeah. Nope, Brian, you're right. I'm okay with that.
Did we settle the issue about height?
No,
Do we
But-
want to before we send Jeremy off to do more work?
well, apparently it may be part of the chicken discussion.
Well, the chicken, no,
We're not gonna have a 14-foot chicken coop.
height, the chicken coops are gonna be smaller than the shed height. That's not, yeah, I think you should determine and keeping in mind, and I think we had a discussion about this at one of the recent ZBA sessions on this, that, the actual average, the height is an average if it's
Right.
pitched between the peak and the eave. So even if
Yep.
you say the height is 12 feet, the peak is higher than 12 feet.
Yep.
You get structures that at their highest point are higher than what the defined height is going to be. I do think there's a need to set a maximum height for accessory buildings. I don't, if it's 12 or 14.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it needs to be something where I think 14 is probably good because we want it to look, you want it to look aesthetically pleasing. If it's a 1-story ranch with a flat roof or, a somewhat flat pitch, is going to be different than if I want to put a nice shed behind my house and my house has a 12-12 pitch or something. It might, I'd like some research done. I don't know what a 1-story house with a 12-12 pitch is going to, the top of the roof's going to be.
Okay. Anything else to add to this before we pass it back to staff? Okay. Do we need to table that as a case? No, we'll just leave that open if that's okay, folks. Okay. Next item on our agenda. Case 20050, 1105 East Beecher Street. This was one I think we looked at, back in September or October for a site plan for a marijuana growing facility. And if I understand correctly, the applicant wishes to expand their plan from what was originally proposed. Is there someone here from, is it Purple Valley Farms? Is there someone here to represent them?
Yes, good afternoon or good evening. My name is John Mackwich on behalf of Purple Valley.
Welcome, John.
Thank
Why don't
you.
you very briefly tell us what it is that you want to change from your original proposal?
So you are correct. We were here a few months back and you conditionally approved us on conditional on an odor plan, a dumpster plan, lighting in the driveway. And when we went back to make the changes to the site plan, we had additional capital infusion at that time. So we increased the footprint of the building. So originally when we came before you a few months back, it was a 45 by 45 foot building. We've since expanded it to 48 by 90 and everything else is the same in there. It's more just for increased capacity. It'll be a Class B grow license with the city.
Commissioners, questions for Mr. Bakovich? I note that we would need that the staff has recommended that as long as we're redoing, making improvements to the parking lot, that we reseal it. And we probably need to get a photometric plan of the property showing where exterior lighting is going to be.
Yeah, we would be agreeable to both of those.
Yeah, well, it's certainly the photometric one is a requirement. So, and we need to know is property. Can we go back to the drawing, Michelle, if you don't mind, the exterior one? Yeah, there we go. Is there any fencing showing on here? Are we planning on any fencing around the?
Hi, this is Mike Nikolowitz, the architect. I'm here too.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, there's existing fencing along the west property line, that diagonal line, all along the back through the alleyway.
Okay.
Also along the east side, that's all existing.
Oh, I see it now. Okay. Existing 6-foot chain link fence with privacy slats.
Yes,
Okay. And that's between this property and the adjacent property, the adjacent building there. Okay.
correct.
Commissioners, other questions for the applicant? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the Planning Commission on this particular site plan review? I would note, and just for clarification, that in fact, Jeremy, do you want to comment on the parking requirements for this?
Yeah, so they, on the other plan, so this was their older plan here. They had a little bit less parking and they've added a bit more. In the past, we've used warehousing for these grow facilities as the parking because the sheer size of them, manufacturing would have put them over parking size. But because of the size of their facility and how, small their location is, the 120% that we allow that you are able to waive would only be, I think, 5 spots or something off the top of my head. And they're asking for, quite a bit more than that, which if you were to use general manufacturing, they have the correct amount here.
Okay. And I'm not sure that general manufacturing is a bad thing to do here as a standard.
Some of them I just worry because if, Flourish, if we were to do that, they'd have even more parking with how large those facilities are. So some of those, it makes sense, but the way that this particular building is configured, that calculation doesn't give them enough space for workers. So
okay,
it just didn't work for this one in particular. The other ones it's worked pretty good for.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions for the applicant or any comments from the commission?
I just have one comment on A201. The elevations of the eave and ridge line didn't translate from the previous page. They're the same elevation as the existing building. If you go to A201,
Hold on.
down to the
First
far
tab,
left of the page.
This one or the next one?
That one. So go to the far left. See, it's 113.2. It also says 113.2 on the addition. It should be 121.3 and 112 even for the eve elevation, and then 121.3 for the ridge elevation.
Okay.
Based on the
updated then.
Yeah, based on A202.
Okay. A note for your architect there, guys.
I'll correct it.
Okay. There are no comments on this particular site plan review from the audience. We could entertain a motion for approval conditionally upon resealing the parking lot during parking lot improvements, submission of a photometric plan. And I think that was probably it.
You guys are fine with the parking requirements?
Yes. I am anyway.
For approval of the site plan conditionally subject to addressing the issues raised in the staff report.
Support.
Love.
Okay, we have motion from Taylor and support from Love. Any additional discussion, commissioners? Okay, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Watson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Or
Cotton,
Yes.
Gauss,
Yes.
Taylor. Commissioner Taylor,
Sorry, yes.
Kovitz,
Yes.
Love,
Yes.
and Weatherby.
Support.
Motion passed unanimously.
Okay. Thank you. Best of luck with that project, Ellen.
Thank you.
Next item, case number 20057. This is 1001 South Main Street, a zoning exception permit and a site plan review for a restaurant with a drive-through. Is there someone here to speak to this particular case?
Yes, sir. Travis Munn with Hurley and Stewart.
Thank you for being here. We have had the opportunity to take a look at the site plan. If you would very briefly just give us a thumbnail sketch of what it is you're proposing to do.
Yes, thank you, and thank you all for considering our request for a zoning exception site plan review tonight. I'm with an engineering firm, Hurley and Stewart out of Kalamazoo, representing my client, the developer, who is looking to develop a 2,800 square foot McAllister's Deli restaurant at the southeast corner of South Main and Baker. The site formerly was a restaurant. I believe it was a Pizza Hut, if I'm not mistaken. Right now, the building's gone. It's just a parking lot. So we would completely be redeveloping the site for McAllister's Deli. If you're not familiar with them, which most of you probably are not, this will be, I believe, the fourth restaurant in Michigan. They are quite popular, though, more in the South, but you can, I guess, kind of compare it to Panera Bread. So you're looking at a healthier option versus a typical fast food chain. There is a what looks like a drive-through window, but it's technically a pickup window. So patrons would either order online ahead of time or call in an order, and then they would pick it up. So they're not pulling up to the restaurant and placing an order like you would at like a McDonald's or Taco Bell or something like that. So we're not anticipating long lines in the queue at the drive up or pickup window. Most people are going to park and go in the restaurant, not necessarily in this day and age with the COVID situation going on, but there is also an outdoor patio area for outdoor dining, which will be a nice benefit for people to sit outside and do their social distancing. So I believe the site is zoned B2, community business, so it should be zoned correctly for this type of use. It's 1.2 acres, and we'd be looking for full access to both Main and Baker as well. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that for the moment and answer any questions you might have. And I also, with us tonight, is a representative from the developer, Kirk Fairley, and he can answer any questions that you may have as well. So thank you.
I'm glad that you mentioned about the drive-through because I was concerned as soon as you have more than 7 cars there, you're blocking off some of your own parking.
Right.
And I know that we'd end up, if there was a queue of cars there, we'd end up blocking off the handicap parking. So it is just for pickup, not
Correct.
for ordering.
Correct.
I take it too that is there one of these is it Kalamazoo?
Not yet. There is one currently outside of Lansing. There's one that was recently built in Flint.
The only reason I ask is someplace on your drawing it says the city of Kalamazoo will deal with this.
Oh, sorry, that was a typo. We're out of Kalamazoo, so a lot of our stuff is done there. So it must have been carried over from another drawing. So apologize for that.
Okay.
Also, on one of your drawings indicates that you'll check with the city of Owasso on one of your.
I'm sorry,
lines,
that's the one I was thinking of.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Okay.
But to your defense, I will say this is a really, really fine set of plans for site plan review.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Owasso was another one that was recently approved and will be under construction here shortly. So this will be the 4th restaurant in the state. So I know they're excited to develop here, and thank you for the kind words about the site plan. Appreciate that.
Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? we're going to take a minute first to consider the zoning exception application. In general, in order to grant a zoning exception permit, we need to consider if the proposal meets specific requirements. And in this particular case, I think the only specific requirements there are for a drive-through restaurant are that the driveways be at least 60 feet away from the intersection. And I believe in both cases, both the Baker Street Drive and the Main Street Drive are at least by my interpretation of the drawings, at least 60 feet away from the corner. Is that correct, Mr. Munn? Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that at least one of them has to be on a major intersection. So those specific requirements for granting a zoning exception permit are addressed in the drawing. We need to consider if granting such a permit would have an adverse effect on the environment or the value of surrounding properties. We need to consider if the proposed use is compatible with adjacent and surrounding properties, and is this proposed use consistent with the city's future land use plan? Since this is a permitted business in a general business district, I would say that all of those have been met. So as we consider the granting of a zoning exception permit, all the technical aspects have been addressed, it appears. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the Planning Commission on this particular matter? Hearing none, we'll close the public portion of that discussion and we'll go to commission discussion. If I recall, I don't believe, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that there were any staff concerns with the site plan.
No, they were able to take care of all departments' concerns before the meeting, so.
Okay, excellent. Commissioners, if there isn't any additional questions, we could entertain a motion for, why don't we do the zoning exception permit first? We would entertain a motion for approval of the zoning exception permit for 1001 South Main Street.
Move to approve.
Is that Commissioner Love?
Support Taylor.
And support from Taylor. Any additional discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Johnson,
Support.
Cotton,
Yes.
Gauss,
Yes.
Taylor,
Support.
Jacobitz,
Yes.
Love,
Yes.
Weatherby,
Support.
and Watson.
Or
Passed unanimously.
Okay. And then also with regards to the site plan, as I said, there were no staff concerns and or they've already been addressed. So if we would so choose, we could approve the site plan as presented and would entertain a motion to that effect.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Cotton,
Mhm.
Support Love.
support from Commissioner Love. Any additional discussion? Okay, a roll call, please.
Taylor,
Support.
Gauss,
Yes.
Cotton,
Yes.
Jacobitz,
Yes.
Love,
Yes.
Weatherby,
Support.
Johnson,
Support.
and Watson.
or
Passed unanimously.
Okay. Gentlemen, best of luck with this project. Looking forward to seeing it develop.
Thank you all very much and
Thank
stay
you.
safe.
Next item on our agenda is case 20054, a site plan review for an enclosed porch, 225 North Main Street, the Catherine Cobb House. This was tabled at our November meeting. Is there someone with us this evening to speak to this particular matter?
Yes, my name's Kelly McNichol. I'm the residential services manager for Catherine Cobb Safe House. I also have with me Craig from No Limits Construction and Home Maintenance. So he's been a big help on this project.
Your contractor?
Yes, I'm the contractor, Craig Radislavich.
Okay, very well. Welcome to both of you. Ms. McNichol, if you could just very briefly tell us what it is that you're proposing to do.
Okay, so I'm sure you all know we are a domestic violence shelter. We house anywhere typically between 30 and about 38 people between women and children. And we don't have a particular room that we've been able to set aside for holding a group therapy sessions. We have rooms for our therapists to use, but you can definitely not fit more than one therapist and a client in those rooms. And with COVID, where we have had spaces that we've been able to put 2 or 3 people, we definitely are unable to do that at this point in time. So we are hoping to build a space on that we can add that additional space for group therapy to be taking place.
Isn't there a porch there already?
There is. We're looking to enclose it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
do we have to untable this?
Yes, we do. I'm sorry. We would entertain a motion to take this item off the table.
I moved on table.
Support.
Support. All those in favor of untabling this particular item, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you for the reminder. So we are just enclosing the existing porch, or are we building a foundation?
Craig, I'll let you take that one.
No, we're just enclosing the current porch that's there. The roof's existing. There's a frame deck underneath. We want to put windows on it, add heat to it, so if they need to use it in the winter time, they can use it during the winter months, fall months, spring months.
But it doesn't have a foundation.
No, we're planning on insulating the floor underneath.
I understand. I'm not in the construction business and I'm not the building inspector, but when you start to enclose even just like the front porch on my house, it's not built to be a functional living space based on its, it doesn't have a foundation. It's on posts. I would ask staff to consider this. I would ask for some feedback from the staff on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to have to be and will be evaluated by the building official, by Tony. I don't feel qualified to say whether or not. I mean, there's some foundation system there, whether or not that it's not a slab or a concrete foundation, and whether or not that is adequate, I don't know. When you start to attach it to the building, then they need to move in the same way based on the same influences of frost and so on. And so you are changing something in that regard. And I would suggest you have a conversation with the building official before you go too far down the road with your planning for how you're going to build it, to make sure that he's going to be comfortable with the approach that you're taking.
I actually did sit down with Tony before I had these drawings done and explain what I was looking to do for them, and he felt pretty comfortable with closing this in without putting a foundation under it with the current post and structure that's there.
Okay, well, he is our expert on it. I would ask you to check with him yet again before you proceed too far with it.
Okay.
Is that?
And then I did have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
So on your notes, the notes from this meeting, they said something about the whole house is done in vinyl siding now, and it said something down in the lower notes about needing to have, what was it? Should be approved.
But folks, this is as commissioners and addressed to the applicant as well. This property is in the B3 Central Business District, and as such, it is subject to our recently, in the last 2 years, introduced form-based codes standards. And when we implemented those, our intention was that folks in the downtown district, any one of those historic buildings, not be able to put up vinyl siding on their building or build a cement block building or something like that, and that it be sensitive to the historic nature of the downtown. This building, I believe when the last addition and renovation was done, what, in the late 80s, early 90s perhaps, was vinyl sided at that time. I think I would suggest that the horse is already out of the barn in this regard. And that if we were to hold them to that standard for the add-on porch, it probably wouldn't look as good as if they vinyl sided the enclosed porch, to tell you the truth. I'm open to other input on that.
I totally agree. I feel like this is, he's got to go pull a building permit to do this. Basically, this is us just saying, okay, you can put the vinyl on there because the rest of the building's already vinyled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that as well.
Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments on that or input? We would presume that the vinyl siding on the enclosed porch would attempt to match the existing vinyl siding on the building.
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the Planning Commission on this particular site plan? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion of this. Commissioners, I'm still concerned about the foundation, but we will leave that to the building inspection department. We would entertain a motion to approve the site plan as presented, and with the stipulation that it is not necessary, that as long as the enclosed porch comes close to matching the exterior of the existing building, that it will not be necessary for them to comply with the form-based overlay district requirements.
Move to approve, Commissioner Watson.
So support.
Support Taylor.
Support from Taylor. Commissioners, any additional discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Weatherby,
What?
Love,
Yes.
Jacobitz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Or
Watson,
Or
Taylor,
Support.
Cotton,
Yes.
and Gauss.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Okay. Thank you for being here. That is approved.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Next time on our agenda is a additional discussion item for backyard chickens. This is what we started this discussion at our meeting last month. And it was some folks' opinion that we had just gotten this the day before and hadn't had enough time to consider it. We also gave some input to staff, and they have taken that and produced a new draft, second draft of a proposed ordinance that would cover the keeping of chickens in the city. This is just a discussion item this evening, and we're ready to kick off that discussion. Commissioners, I presume you've had an opportunity now to review the proposed ordinance or the draft of an ordinance. I'm not hearing any discussion.
Well, I have a couple things. I think I'm just looking at my notes again. It would have been interesting. It would have been interesting if we could have had this document with changes noted rather than have to go through line by line and figure out what we added and didn't add. But
Jeremy, can you
yeah.
put up the red line that you created?
Pardon me?
Jeremy has a red line. I'm not sure why that's not in the packet,
Yeah,
but you can probably put it up on the screen to at least help you at this point.
Well, I've already been through it, but I mean, just for our purposes and getting ready for the meeting. One comment, and this may be included, but I'm not sure. Having spoken to some people that raise chickens, that one of their recommendations is that you certainly put screening over the top of your outside structure because they will fly up and they will fly out. So that's something to consider. You know, the fenced in area versus the enclosed area.
Anybody else?
I have a question about paragraph 2. I guess it's paragraph 2. Yeah, 4.38.1.2. The private restrictions, probably HOAs, Master B, whatever. How is this affected by the Historic Commission, who rules with an iron fist over the historic district? And just curious, is that covered within this, since it's really a government function? I'm just not sure. Somebody enlighten me on that.
Well, I think they would have the ability to review any such structures, and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't dealt much with the Historic Commission, Jeremy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there's new construction within that historic district, that's subject to the review of the commission. And it wouldn't necessarily prohibit it, as deed restrictions might in some other cases, but the design of it would be something that would be subject to their review.
Okay, yeah, they've been pretty successful in preventing things from happening. So, yeah, just
historically, people probably did have chickens there. That's the thing.
Yeah, I was going to say that it wouldn't surprise us if those buildings, when they were first built, had chickens in the backyard.
I'm sure that's the case, but no longer.
Okay. Commissioners, Don, go ahead. Sorry.
So we are saying here that it will not be located closer than 10 feet to any property line of an adjacent property. Is that, I don't know, I'm just thinking about a public hearing and whether people are going to say, well, that's pretty close to my property line. I don't know that it makes much difference. That's a little bit further than what we're saying for accessory buildings, right? So I think we're probably okay there.
And it's also, we got rid of the the neighbor waiver language, and I believe it's also 40 feet to any residential structure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's right.
Oh, go ahead, Don. Sorry.
Now I see we added that the zoning administrator can also be out there along with the police officer and the ordinance enforcement officer, right? So.
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of the sign inspections, so I figured why not add that, so we have another person just to go look. If there's an issue, I can go out and take a look at it.
That sounds great.
As I've said before, I think the problem with this whole concept is not the ordinance in the detail, but our inability to generally enforce our ordinances of this nature. We've got, we were just discussing accessory buildings, which brings us to mind. And in that accessory building ordinance, the existing ordinance, says there's no travel trailers or boats stored in, they have to be stored in the backyard. There are dozens of examples all over town of travel trailers and temporary canvas garages and boats in the front yard, and we don't do anything about it. And I realize that our approach to this is to react to complaints, but I'm concerned that this is just adding one more thing that we don't enforce.
I guess I'm not comfortable, this is Commissioner Weatherby, with our inability to enforce something as a guideline by which we view the validity of this plan. If we have an enforcement issue, that seems to me to be a different kind of issue. And to say that this is simply one more thing that we can't enforce, I don't think is fair to this whole topic.
Okay.
Mike, at the last meeting, you brought something up. I think you said something about you were more comfortable with it in R3, 4 and not 1 and 2. Is that correct? Or
Other way around. Other way around.
other way around? Okay, I couldn't
Yeah.
remember which one you said.
I was more comfortable with it in the neighborhoods that have large lots. Like I said, I live in a neighborhood that the lots are 100 feet deep and 50 feet wide. I'm right on top of my neighbors and they're on top of me.
Do you think
Well,
just
we did add I should point out a minimum lot size in this version that was not there before. I think it's 10,000 square feet, which is good sized lot.
Which means that, and that's just fine. That means I couldn't have chickens in my 5,000 foot lot, and that's fine.
where is that in there? I didn't read that.
Yeah,
Oh, there it
is.
is.
Yeah.
I see.
Right.
So that
I think
would that would limit it pretty much to R1, R2s.
Well, or large lot.
I mean, lots can be bigger, than are necessarily required in the zoning district. So we aren't specifying zoning districts. We're specifying lot size.
The lot next to me is easily 10,000 square feet. As is that blue house over on Front or Toledo that has, like half a block lot with a swimming pool in the back. There are a few large lots on the east side. Part of the discussion I'd like to have is, and presuming we're not taking any action on this evening, but this came to us from the city commission and asked for a recommendation from us. And obviously, whatever we do, it's going to be in the form of a recommendation to them because it's a change in the ordinance. But where do we want to go with this in terms of process?
Well, I think you have to have a public hearing. I mean, it's been initiated by the city commission. It's a text amendment that's been initiated by the city commission.
Yep.
And so such, you're charged with setting a public hearing, holding the public hearing, and making a recommendation to the city commission. You can recommend whatever you want, approval or denial, but you have to go through that process.
I guess kind of what I was getting at is if and just hypothetically, if our recommendation was to not permit chickens, then we also shouldn't send them a sample ordinance.
Well, you're reacting to what they sent you. They initiated this.
Right.
And they sent you a draft.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You've now made modifications, I guess, as a hyper technical matter. If at the end of the day you don't like it, even with your own modifications, then you would just recommend against adoption of the draft that they sent you.
Mm-hmm.
I would disagree, Mike, because even if we don't agree with adopting it, I think we should send them as the body that the city leans on for zoning and coming up with these things. We've at least come up with the best type of ordinance to look at in this instance that they should look at.
Well,
And if they're going to say, even if we don't, and say that they want chickens, then we've at least given one of, we look at these things more than they look at them, and we've already added a lot more things that they didn't think of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very important point.
Well, and that's why I wanted to have that discussion, because I guess I could see us then saying, and I realize I'm getting ahead of the game because first of all, we haven't decided what we want to do with it. But
because I think we need to make sure we have the best worded ordinance, and then we need to have a public meeting on it and then go from there.
Okay.
I would definitely agree with that.
And I think that's what I think this is a very strong ordinance. I don't know much of change compared to the last one, especially. And I'm fairly comfortable with the next public meeting. I feel like this is dragging, to tell you the truth. That if we do another discussion only, I may just fall asleep.
No, I was certainly not heading there, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not
But
at all.
I think we've got to go and have the public have their say on this now.
Okay. Shall we set a public hearing for this ordinance as currently drafted for our January meeting?
Before we do that, Mike, we need to discuss, is the chicken coop going to be considered your accessory structure?
Okay,
I feel like that discussion needs to be had.
And also, I suggested early on that that I've had people tell me in the business that the exterior portion that's fenced in should have a screening over the top so the birds don't fly out.
And the cats don't jump in.
Or, yeah, that's a two-way street, isn't it, Greg? Yeah. And
Well,
I don't
that's-
think that would not impact anybody's decision to go or no go on having chickens. I think it's probably another $20 to cover the top with some screening, you know.
But that's so that we're clear. If I have a fenced backyard and a chicken coop, do I have to then, by that statement, Don, do I have to put a cover over my entire backyard?
No, Mike, you put a cover over the fenced in area where the chickens run.
You still have to have a chicken run.
Okay.
And
So
that should be covered because otherwise they're going to get out.
Yeah. You have an enclosed structure where they can't get out except walk out into the fenced in enclosure.
Okay.
Put a mesh over that or fencing over that and they can't get out. In theory.
Can someone have their entire backyard as their fenced chicken enclosure?
No, it's stated you can't.
Not the coop, but the.
No, there's a maximum in there.
100 feet, 100 square feet total, right?
I'm looking for that.
Yes, it's K number 2, KII.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, very well. So the gist of the discussion at the moment then is this an additional accessory building?
First of all, I think we need to add in K3, no enclosure shall exceed 8 feet in height and shall have a cover over it.
All enclosures, K, which one?
K3, where it says no enclosure shall exceed 8 feet in height.
Well, wouldn't you want to say all enclosures should be covered and not exceed 8 feet in height?
Yes. Yep.
Have the negative after.
Yep. All enclosures shall be covered and not exceed 8 feet in height. And it will impact how we draft the accessory building ordinance, changes to the accessory building ordinance. Because again, as Brian asked the question, is the chicken coop an accessory building? May I have
building that's an accessory?
May I have a detached garage and a shed and a chicken coop?
Well, where do we put pool houses?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, to me, this would be no different. If you want chickens, you want a pool house, you want a chicken coop.
Yep.
So if a pool house is an accessory building, I would think a chicken coop is an accessory building.
Right.
So perhaps the limit on accessory buildings is again based on a total square footage as opposed to a count.
That's
Most
kind of what
people
I
are
was
using
thinking.
their sheds as their pool houses, just FYI. Like they're supplementing their shed with a pool house, I guess.
They're one and the same.
Yeah. So they're not having both, I guess, is what I've been dealing with.
I think we need some sort of formula that says if I want a small, teeny tiny, the smallest chicken coop I can have. So
Yep.
You know, but I also want a shed on my property. I don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you don't go over the square foot calculations.
If you don't go over the square foot calculation. So if you've
Per
got
unit
100
or total?
total.
Total. Okay.
So if you have a chicken coop that's 100 square feet and you're allowed to have 400 square feet of shed on your building, you get a 300 square foot shed then.
Yeah.
So I can
think
add a chicken coop to my pool house right now and have the mayor down to get some of those good eggs, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, it's a good point. I think that
I think these two ordinances should, the accessory building ordinance needs to cross-reference to the chicken ordinance and make reference to that very fact then though.
I'd like to make a suggestion in light of what Commissioner Love said, because I do agree with him. I'm not so sure we've drawn this out, but if we could make these changes and look at them before next meeting, so we have an opportunity, if we see something that we all agree, or if maybe we need a special meeting, but I think
Well,
we need to.
If we could see this earlier than the Friday before the next meeting.
Well,
If we could get it.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Provide feedback to give Jeremy time to make any corrections, and then we're not going to be saying, well, you know, we're here for public hearing, but we're really not confident in our document. Back to what Commissioner Love said, yeah.
Yep. Jeremy, can we do that? Can we get changes to both of these made and get them at least a week or 10 days prior to the next meeting?
Yeah, there's 5 weeks till our next meeting. I can have it to you by the end of this week.
Okay.
So Michelle records these, so I'll just rewatch it and I'll have it to you by Friday.
Okay.
Do we need to have and Greg or Jeremiah, you would know this better than I. Let's say Jeremiah gets it done by the end of the week. We all look at it, but we all decide we need to get together again to discuss it. Do we have to give public notice in a whatever the time frame is, even though we're not going to vote on anything, just going to have a discussion?
If we're going to schedule a public hearing, we got to do that. You know, it takes with the newspaper notice requirements about 3 weeks ahead of the meeting.
No, not if we're going to do if we're just going to have another just get together to discuss it. Do we have to?
We're going to have a
public. If it's other than your regular meeting time, then it would have to be noticed as a special meeting. The chair can call it, and we have to put a notice up, I think, 18 hours ahead of the meeting.
Yeah, so we could have a special meeting. We could have a special work session between now and the January meeting if after we saw a draft we thought that was necessary.
Then we just have to give a day or two notice would be fine.
Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Okay.
And we could still go ahead now and set a hearing date for January, right?
Exactly.
Cool.
And in fact, why don't we? That would be Tuesday, January 5th. And we would entertain a motion to set a public hearing for the purpose of reviewing a draft ordinance relative to backyard chickens for our January 5th to 2021 meeting. A motion, please.
So move.
Support from someone?
Support.
From Commissioner Cotton, it sounded like. Okay. Any additional discussion on that? Okay. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Folks, if there's anyone out in the audience, this was just a discussion item. This is the second meeting that we've discussed this. If there was someone that wanted to provide additional input that's in the audience, this would probably be a good time for that.
Mike, I'd like to speak, Bob Benke.
Yes, Bob.
Just again, talking about this process as this has evolved since the early conversations with the mayor started back in late May. We find ourselves going into January, and I think what's happening here is through the resolutions from the city commission. There was a added number of expectations that were put in place. I think the continued conversation that has taken place here at zoning has done exactly what it needs to do in terms of putting the fine print on there. You know, obviously, Mike, you're not a chicken person, so you don't know that having a roof on the run is probably one of the most vital things when it comes to not the concerns of chickens getting out, because you can easily clip their wings, but more of the concerns of things getting in. So I think as the commission begins to learn the important aspects of chickens and the importance that they can play in the area, I look at and give accolades to the city staff putting on those additions not to exceed 100 square feet, allowing 10,000 square foot properties. And I think that the discussion from last time and this time is only making this this ordinance stronger, but at the same time, you know, looking at the fact that, you know, hopefully we're not zoning the entire city out of the opportunity to have chickens. When you look at owner occupied, when you look at 10,000 square feet, we're now well below half of the, if not a quarter of the city being able to participate in backyard chickens and have that opportunity to provide food for their family. So just thank you for the conversation and the feedback, and moving forward. I know Chris and Brandon are here. I don't know if they have any further thoughts to share about the conversation that's been taking place.
Anybody else? Okay, we will look at hopefully what is a final draft of an ordinance, and we will hope to have it sometime in just the next 2 weeks, and that would give commissioners a time to review it, so that hopefully we could have a public hearing on it and perhaps take final action, at least from the planning commission's perspective, on that at our January meeting. Folks, is there any other business to come before us this evening?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss. I'd just like to address one of Mr. Benke's comments and just ask that in the future he not generalize about a group of people who haven't done their research, because I can assure you that there are a number of city commissioners that have in fact done their research, and in some cases agree with him, in some cases don't. So I just want to make that statement.
Okay. Any other business to come before us this evening? Folks, thank you all very much for your service. Have a good evening.
Happy holidays.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Michelle, I don't know if you can hear me. How do I end this? You probably can't hear me. Did I just leave? Like that's just gonna. Like I don't know.